Hello everyone, it's Ling here, back with another Commander Deck Tech video. Today I'll be going over one of my craziest Commander decks. It's a little deck I like to call Die Fast, Kill Faster. It's a Rakdos Glass Cannon deck featuring Rowan, Scion of War as the commander. Just like before, I'll go through the strategy and the cards for the deck first, and then end with a quick goldfishing session. I'll also leave Moxfield links in the description below. Rowan, Scion of War, is a Rakdos commander costing 1 colorless, 1 black, and 1 red. She is a 4/2 legendary human wizard with menace and an activated ability that states, tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. The goal of this deck is to reduce the cost of your spells by paying life, and then cast a bunch of spells including X spells to beat your opponents. This deck does not contain any game changers, however based on my experience playing the deck, I think it belongs in bracket 4. Rating the power level out of 10 relative to decks I own, I would give this a 9 out of 10. Rowan can be a C EDH commander, however I think this deck isn't quite on that level, plus no one in my casual groups have had an issue with me playing this deck. Alright, getting into the strategy. The first thing we need for this deck to work is life loss. There are multiple cards included in this deck that allow you to pay life continuously. These include Arcoflagellant, Deepwood Ghoul, Mischievous Poltergeist, Soul Channeling, Soul Drinker, and Wall of Blood. The ones that I believe are must-haves are Blood Celebrant, Immolating Soul Eater because of their cheaper casting costs, and Treasonous Ogre, which can pay life to produce enough red mana to help you win the game. Because there are only so many cards that have a repeatable life loss ability like these, we include some cards that cause a more limited amount of life loss. These cards are mainly focused on card draw at the cost of life, such as Dark Confidant, Darkstar Augur, Dark Tutelage, Keen Duelist, and Stormfist Crusader. Lastly, Keurig, Son of Yawgmoth is included to let us essentially pay Phyrexian Black for black spells. This slot is pretty flexible. I personally haven't found this card to be that impactful so far, so you could potentially swap this one out. Now that we can pay life to reduce the cost of our spells, we still need to solve the problem of being able to pay for the colored pips in our spells. Which brings us to the next part of the strategy, mana. All of the spells that I'm about to go over should be cast for 1 mana after the cost reduction from Rowan's ability. We include several ritual effects, including Dark Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Seething Song, Priest of Gix, and Priest of Urabrask, which should net you more mana than you spent to cast them. Next, we have spells that can net you equal or more treasures than the mana you spent on casting. These include cards such as Bottlecap Blast that removes a small creature to create treasures equal to the excess damage dealt, and Brass's Bounty that can create treasures equal to the number of lands you control. We also have cards that create treasures and let you dig deeper into your deck, such as Big Score, Inspired Tinkering, Pirate's Pillage, and Seize the Spoils. Lastly, Stormkiln Artist is included to create a treasure for each instant or sorcery spell you cast, which can essentially refund the cost of many spells because most will only cost 1 colored pip with Rowan's cost reduction ability. In order for this deck to make the explosive plays to win, we need to be able to dig deeper into the deck to find cards to play. We have impulse draw effects on X spells such as Commune with Lava and Zenith Festival, which lets you exile the top X cards to play until the end of your next turn. March of Reckless Joy is also included. It's a similar but worser effect to letting you choose to play up to 2 of the X cards that you exile until the end of your next turn. Diabolic Revelation is an X spell that lets you tutor for X cards, while Peer into the Abyss lets you draw half of your library at the cost of half of your life total. In my experience, if either of these 2 cards resolve and you still have mana available, you essentially win the game. Next, we have Apex of Power, which lets you impulse draw the top 7 cards, while also giving you 10 mana of 1 color when cast from your hand. Ignite the Future is a smaller spell that lets you impulse draw 3 cards, but can also be cast again with Flashback. Lastly, Damnable Pact is an X spell that lets target player draw X cards and lose X life. You could use this spell to target an opponent to finish them off, or you could target yourself, but just be careful with your life total, assuming you paid a bunch of life already to reduce the cost of this. The next part of the strategy are mostly big scary X spells that help you get to the finish line. The one and only creature included in this section is Shivan Devastator, which is a flying haste dragon that enters with X+1/+1 counters to swing in for a huge attack. Two of the best X spells included here are Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire, both notably avoid deflecting SWAT effects. Comet Storm, Crackle with Power, Fall of the Titans, and Jaya's Immolating Inferno are X spells that can deal damage to multiple targets, while Banefire and Devil's Play deal X damage to a single target. Next, we have some cards that will ensure your opponents are extra dead. They include Crackling Spellslinger and Storm King's Thunder, which can allow you to copy your big spells numerous times. I have resolved both of these spells before, and the amount of damage that you could do is truly disgusting. For example, once I cast a Storm King's Thunder for X equals 25, so that I can have 25 additional copies of a Torment of Hailfire that I casted for X equals 25. That's a whole lot of life loss. Lastly, we have Wound Reflection, which causes opponents to lose life equal to the life they lost this turn at the beginning of each end step. This can help close out games in case your damaging spells didn't do quite enough damage. Moving on, there are a couple of X spells that don't necessarily help you finish your opponents. These include Battle at the Bridge, Erebos' Intervention, and March of Wretched Sorrow, which are mostly played as -X removal spells that also give you X life, helping you recoup the life that you lost for Rowan's ability. Or, sometimes you can just play them without any cost reduction to remove problem pieces on your opponent's boards. And then there's Doomsday Confluence. What do I even say about this salt-inducing card? Normally, this card is too expensive to play in other decks, but in this deck, this card can easily make everyone sacrifice all of their non-artifact creatures and make your opponents discard their entire hands. This card is not necessary for this deck, but if your goal is to not make friends, play this card. Because there are plenty of spells that are worth recasting, we have a few recursion pieces. Past in Flames and Will of the Jeskai are mainly included to give spells in your graveyard flashback. Since flashback costs are also affected by Rowan's cost reduction ability, you should have no problem flashing back numerous spells from your graveyard. In my opinion, these are must-haves for this deck because oftentimes the spells you recast will help you close out games. Next, we have a couple pieces of protection for Rowan. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots are included to protect Rowan from targeted removals, and the haste can also come in handy. We also have Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast to deal with blue mages and their counterspells. These two card slots are flexible and you can replace them with other things. I chose to include them because my playgroups tend to play a lot of counterspells. The ramp package in this deck is relatively small. It includes common mana rocks such as Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Rakdos Signet, and Talisman of Indulgence. Other pieces are Ornithopter of Paradise, which is just a mana dork that produces mana of any color, and Mere Convert, which also produces mana of any color at the cost of 2 life. Lastly, Curse of Opulence is included, which isn't really ramp, but the gold tokens do help if you can get this down early in the game. This is also a pretty flexible slot, so you can swap in another card if you like. As always, the final portion of the deck tech are lands. There are some utility lands, namely Arena of Glory and Hall of the Bandit Lord, which help cast Rowan with much needed haste. I would highly recommend these two lands, but I've also played this deck without them for the longest time, so you could exclude them if you want the deck to be more budget friendly. We also have Gear Reach Sanitarium, which lets you pay 2, tap to have everyone loot. It's not necessary for this deck, I just like playing this land card in decks that have some sort of recursion. There are plenty of lands in this deck that will deal damage to you, such as the Pain lands, Barbarian Ring, Cabal Pit, If Near Dead lands, Ramunap Ruins, Sulphur Springs, Mount Doom, and the shock land Blood Crypt. The rest of the lands are dual lands, basics, and of course Command Tower, totaling 36 lands. Similar to my last Rakdos deck tech, this deck wants lands to enter the battlefield untapped on your first 3 turns to ensure that you can consistently cast Rowan on turn 3. To conclude, Rowan is a commander that lets you do insane things. This Glass Cannon X-Spells deck can make some truly explosive plays out of nowhere. Once your playgroup sees the nonsense that this deck can do, be prepared for them to treat you as the archenemy the next time you play this deck, even when your starting hand is bad. As I've mentioned earlier, there are flexible slots in this deck that you can upgrade. I think Fire Covenant is a perfect upgrade. I don't know why I don't have it because it should definitely be in this deck. Additionally, I think game changers such as Jessica's Will and Deflecting Swat would go great in this deck. If you're looking to take a more budget-friendly approach, I would take out Torment of Hailfire, Hall of the Bandit Lord, and Arena of Glory. These three cards together cost around $40. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast are pretty situational, so you could look to swap these out as well. You can replace the two lands with basics, and for the other cards, you can swap in some cheaper X spells such as Cut to Ribbons, Volcanic Geyser, and Fireball. And finally, the cost of this deck according to TCG Player using the cheapest card versions is $165. Moving on to Goldfishing, I'll be going through the first several turns to give you guys an idea of how I would typically play this deck. Keep in mind for Goldfishing, I can't account for the interactions my opponents would have or ones that I would need to use against them, so this is mainly for demonstrating the deck's play pattern. Already we're here in Moxfield's playtester with Rowan, Scion of War. Looking at the starting hand, we have 4 lands. Yeah, this hand is pretty bad because I have 3 playable cards that are meant for me to pay life with. But I only need one of them, so I guess I'll try this hand. I mean, in a real situation, I'd probably mulligan this hand, but let's just go with it. Turn 1, draw for turn. Go for a swamp. Play Blood Celebrant. And then pass the turn. Turn 2, I'll play Sulphur Springs. And then why not? I'll play the other one that lets me pay life continuously. In turn 4, I would like to play a mountain. I do have a lot of red pips in my spells in this deck. So I'll go ahead and play Rowan. Turn 4. Oh. Yeah, we got really lucky there. Okay. So here I would actually play the red side of this, just because most of the X spells that do damage are red. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tap Rowan and activate her ability, but I'll hold priority, and then I'll pay 1 to continuously cycle a black mana, pay 1 life to add another black mana. So I'll just keep doing that until I've paid, let's go with 30 life. So the reason why I sequence the abilities in this order is because Rowan's ability is sorcery speed, and if you don't activate her first, and then put other things on the stack on top of her ability, then you may leave her vulnerable to removals. So for example, if we did it the opposite way with Immolating Soul Eater, let's say I pay 2 life for Immolating Soul Eater's ability. That ability will go on the stack, which means Rowan can't tap her for her ability because it's sorcery speed, and while Immolating Soul Eater's ability is on the stack, priority changes to your opponents, so they have a chance to cast, say, Swords to Plowshares or another removal before you get a chance to tap Rowan because it's sorcery speed. I did pay 30 life. So I'm gonna play. So the last time that I do this ability, I think I usually pick red just so I can cast spells like Coming with Lava. So I would have 1 red floating at the moment. I'll do Coming with Lava, exile the top 30 cards. I can play them until the end of my next turn. Okay, so it's very hard to whiff when you have 30 cards. So 1, 2, 3, where'd it go? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So I already see like a couple ways where you could just outright win. Okay, in this situation, just to be safe, I would cast Seething Song. Although, like, if someone would have played a counter, I think they would have already played it on Commune with Lava. So I'll play Seething Song. It'll for 1, and it'll add 5 floating red. So do Infinite Token. Edit. Just a red circle. And then we'll set this to 5. So with the 5 floating, let's see, what are our options? Sure, I'll use 1. Remove a counter. I'll play Stormkiln Artist. That way, every spell we play from here essentially almost refunds itself. So I'll play Ignite the Future for 1. So I'll lose 1 of these, but I'll get a treasure back because I cast an instant or sorcery spell. So add a counter, exile the top 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. I'll play Inspired Tinkering. Remove counter. And then I will exile the top 3 cards from that spell. And then add 3 treasure tokens. So set, it'll be 4. So it's 3 treasure tokens plus the 1 from Stormkiln Artist. So it's actually 5 treasures. I mean, I guess take your pick on how you want to kill your opponents at this point. Where is my Past in Flames? I do have 5 plus 2. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and play Past in Flames, I think. I don't think I have anything else that generates mana. Okay, so Past in Flames for 1. I'll use 1 of these, but it's refunded by Stormkiln Artist, essentially in the form of another treasure. So in my graveyard, view all, go ahead and cast this for 1. I'll use the 1 floating, which means I'll end up with 5 again. Set counters to 5 floating red, goes to exile. I'll flashback Inspired Tinkering as well. Oh, there's 5. I also got a treasure from that. I forgot. Okay, so I'll cast this. I get a treasure. And then I get 3 more treasures, which is 11. And then I would have used a floating mana to cast it. So we'll remove 1 here. And then I can exile the top 3 cards again. So at this point, like, I could cast more spells like this, where I draw more cards and then create more treasures. But I think I have enough treasures at this point to just win. So I will play Storm King's Thunder. That'll cost 3 red. So remove. Well, I remove 1, 2, 3 floating red. Cast Storm King's Thunder for X equals 30. And go here. And so there's really two very good options. I mean, you could use Fall of Titans to kill people. You can use Devil's Play to kill people. Crackle with Power at this point would do 10 times 5 damage to 10 targets, so 50 damage to 10, up to 10 targets. But the safest choice would be Torment of Hailfire, just because no one can deflecting swat that. So I would cast Torment of Hailfire using 2 of the tokens, remove a counter, and then cast it for 30. So Torment of Hailfire for X equals 30, copied an additional 30 times. Let's do some quick math. So each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So that process is repeated 30 times, so that's 90 potential life loss. And then we have 30 additional copies of the spell. So 30 times 90 is 2,700 plus the original 90, so 2,790 potential life loss. So considering our opponents are probably extra dead, I think this is a good place to stop. This is a pretty good demonstration of what the deck can do. Normally when something this crazy happens, I would tell you that this is probably not going to happen in the wild, except this has happened while I played this deck. So I hope you enjoyed this goldfishing session. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Feel free to leave a comment below. This channel is new, so if you have any suggestions on how I can improve future videos, please let me know.